Hi there.
Hi, welcome back to Curious Collection. I'm Will.
I'm Cinnamon.
So we're doing a 4-part series. Today, day 3, we're going to talk about benefits. Part 1, Monday, we talked about the fact that we're starting our own business. There's going to be a lot of naysayers. We're going to leave that corporate job. And we told you it was a terrible idea, but you're going to do it anyway. So, day 2, we talked about, all of the challenges associated with that. And so here we are, day 3. We need to figure out how we are going to replace our benefits. We've got a business now.
Right.
It's in our names. We're paying our taxes.
But we also are humans and we need healthcare and,
So I think
stability.
I think it's the biggest area of challenge and concern that people have around quitting their job is
That's the biggest one.
What
I
about
got.
benefits?
Yeah, you can't leave a corporate job because then you won't have health insurance. I mean, even your mom was like, you can't do that because you can't get health insurance without a corporate job.
And she owns her own business and
always worked another job
and worked 2 jobs. Right. So again, that is always a possibility. No one says that you can't work a job for benefits to, offset some of those costs. The employer will sometimes take on some of those extra costs, or they can get you bought into a plan that's a little bit cheaper. Or
they just convince you.
What if you did want to do this full time and not have that employer-based benefit program? Or what if you're a part-time worker
and you don't even have benefits anyway?
Worker? There's millions and millions of people out there that don't have employer-based benefits. It doesn't mean you have to go without. You just have to go to the source. So all of these companies provide benefits to workers that you can purchase a la carte. So you don't need to be dependent on an employer. You can go direct to the business, the corporation that's providing your insurances, and buy it from them. So I want to talk about our experience and kind of give you guys an idea about what we pay for our family of 3 in some of these areas, so that you can kind of know, well, is this realistic for me or is it not realistic for me? What does that actually cost?
Yeah.
Because I think that's where the most fear is. So I do want to mention that there's some other benefits that employers have that aren't really pay related. They don't cost money. Flexible schedules, work from home or remote work.
Those are big benefits that people want from their company.
But let's be real. If you own your own business, that is the ultimate work from home flex schedule job you're ever going to have. Right. You're the boss. You get to make the rules. If I want to start working at 2:00 in the morning, I can do that. If I want to start,
do that sometimes.
Sometimes I do. If I want to sit down and work after I have my dinner, I can do that.
Right. But today the boy has a dentist appointment, so I am leaving the office at 10:30 so that I can go take him to his dental appointment. You're going to stay home and work, so that we're still, getting things done. But we have that option.
And it's, 9:00 in the morning. We've already been to an estate sale this morning. So, I mean, it really is that crazy flexibility. I've been on the beach with the whole family, and I've been working, answering business-related questions.
Right.
I've been at the Renaissance Festival with my phone, being able to take a break off to the side, answer some questions, make a deal. It really is ultimate. But we've also had
days where, we just weren't feeling it. And we're like, you know what? No, we're going to take this day and we're going to have, our day.
Yeah. Last summer, we went on a trip. We were 1,200 miles from home. And I took my laptop with me, and I was able to sit down for 30 minutes a day and work on our trip. So, that flex schedule that employers have, that everybody, it's so great. We have that in spades. So some of the areas that might be lacking, like pay, are certainly made up in that flexibility of the schedule.
Yeah.
And in that. So other work-related benefits, healthcare. Probably the number one concern. Most healthcare policies do not include dental and vision.
Right. And that's important
to know. We did not know that until we went to buy our own policy. And we were actually a year into our policy before we found out that it wasn't covered.
We didn't have, that. So we talked to somebody. We talked with a health insurance broker. So I just want you to know you don't have to figure all of this stuff out on your own. You
Right.
can, if you want to go online, you can go to the, what is it called?
The health insurance marketplace.
Yes. And then you can, look at that and you can figure
You
that
can
out
do it all on your
if
own.
you want.
Right. Or, like us, we have 2 different insurance agents that we've worked with, and we just go into the office. You need to have an idea about what your income is, because those rates can be subsidized by the U.S. federal government. So, again, this is primarily a conversation for our U.S. Sellers. I don't know about Australia, Canada, the UK.
Yeah.
I know you guys have completely different healthcare systems,
Right.
and you probably aren't familiar with the just absolutely insane costs of healthcare in the US.
Yeah. But
So
that's what we're talking about,
that's where
is how to get health insurance here. So, like I said, we called someone local, and we went in. We had our numbers of our expected earnings for the year, and we sat down with them and we said, look, here's where we're at. My husband wears glasses, so that's something that's important to us. We have teeth, so that's something that's important to us.
I would like to keep my teeth.
We have a child, so we expressed our needs to them, and then we were able to sit down and have a conversation about what would be best for us.
Right. So one thing I want people to keep in mind, it is required under federal law that children are covered by health insurance. So it doesn't matter if you have a part-time job. It doesn't matter if you're unemployed. Your children need to have insurance. So even if you opt to not have insurance for yourself, still talk to somebody. Still make sure that those kids are taken care of.
Right.
So we went in. We talked to them. Year one on our insurance, we took in our numbers, and we talked to them about our policy.
Year one was when I left in October and started working full-time here in this business for November, December. So because our pay with the nursing pay, we had to reimburse all of the subsidies that we received for.
Yes, I was going to get to that.
Okay.
I was going to get to that. Our policy, because the anticipated earnings was so low, they were only charging us $78 a month. Okay. So people talk about, well, health insurance is so expensive. It was $78 a month based on the income that we were reporting that year. Again, for those months.
Business, right.
For the business for those months. And at the end of the year, they said, oh, you need to reimburse us because your pay exceeded the threshold. So the agent that we were working with really didn't, I don't think he was really that proficient. And we ended up changing
to a different agent.
So
who
the penalty on that was $500. It was not the end of the world. We're talking about October, November, December. 3 months, it was $500, and it was taken care of out of our taxes that we filed at the end of that year. So was not the end of the world. And we got money back on our taxes still. So again, not the end of the world. So last year
was an entire full year of insurance and an entire full year of both of us working for the business full time.
Right. So our monthly policy premium was $178. For the entirety for every month for that year with no penalties.
Right. So I do want to be very clear. When I was working in the hospital, or, my insurance was like right around $225 per check.
Right.
So that was like $450 a month for insurance for the 3 of us.
Right. And that's not even the worst that we've seen, because when you were working in Michigan at the hospital, it was $300 a check.
Yeah.
So it was $600 a month for a family of 4 at the time. So, and again, when you have a family policy, it doesn't matter how many children you have.
Right.
It's the family policy. So
just be aware that, like, insurance is expensive when you're working for a company too.
Right. Don't assume that your health insurance is free just because it's being provided by your employer.
Right.
Look at your pay stub, because I would almost guarantee that there's probably 3% of people out there that are getting fully covered on their health insurance from their employer.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you are, that might be a reason to stay.
Sure. You need to know all of your numbers. We talk that all the time. You need to know these things so that you can make an educated decision. So for us, when we looked at the numbers, we looked at how much we were paying for healthcare working for a company and how much we pay for healthcare working for ourselves. And it is not something that would stop us for working for ourselves.
Right. Yeah. There's that compensation difference, at least on the healthcare end, isn't there.
Right.
Optical. So again, I go to the doctor once a year, get my eyes checked, get a new pair of glasses. I was just in last month, so my copay was $10. I got the baseline glasses that they offered, and I trying to remember, was it another 20? I bought 2 pairs of glasses.
Right, because they had a deal.
They had a special going, and I love a deal. So I got 2 pairs of glasses, and I think I paid $100 for 2 pairs of glasses and $10 for the doctor's visit. So,
right. And then again, like we just talked about, I'm taking the boy to the dentist today.
Right. So I want to talk about the premium on the optical policy first.
Okay.
Before we start dental. The premium on our optical is $179 a year. And that covers the whole house. Everybody is covered. So $179 plus, $10 copay. Not really, again, like your employer's covering you on that, but we're talking about less than $15 a month.
And and I was going to say the employer coverage, you still have to pay extra for optical too.
Right.
So I think it was like another $20 a check or something along those lines. 7 to 10 is
what I remember.
Okay.
But yeah.
So you're still talking about the same amount.
Right. Dental. Our dental policy, that's actually kind of pricey in my opinion, but we all have 32 teeth, so I guess they got a lot of work ahead of them. Family of 3, our policy is pretty decent, honestly. I'm pleased with it, and we pay around $80 a month.
Yeah, I think it's like 72. Yeah.
Okay, and again, the insurance agent that set us up with our health insurance policy was also able to help us out on our optical, able to help us on our dental. So it's one person. Just literally, you can Google health insurance. You'll get an agent near you. If you don't like the rates, look at a different brand.
Right. Yeah, there's so many different policies that they'll because our first health insurance broker, he was like, oh, just get the cheapest thing out there. It's $15 a month and you're covered for like catastrophic stuff, but who goes to the doctor anyway? And I'm like, well, hold on a second, because we do go to the doctor.
Yeah.
We do go to our yearly physicals. I just had a mammogram done the other day, as a matter of fact. Like I'm a nurse, so we stay on top of our healthcare to make sure that we are as healthy as possible. Right.
And, frankly, let's be real, we're all aging. So those needs are the needs are more important. You value your health more as you age. So next up, we've got to talk about other types of insurances, life insurance and disability insurance. If you're at an employer and it's a good company, they're probably providing you with some level of benefit as an option. Again, it's optional. Yeah. So maybe you're getting a bulk buy-in plan, but you still have to pay for part of that.
Now, most of the life insurances that a company is going to give you is going to be a term life insurance. So the moment you leave that company,
term of employment, the
term is over and everything that you've paid into is gone. It's just gone. That's it. When you leave that insurance behind. So that is really important to know, because oftentimes if a person becomes sick or ill and they have to leave their position because of their illness, then their life insurance is gone too.
Yeah.
So please be aware of that.
Yeah, and that's very scary, because if you think about it, not everybody dies instantaneously. There are very I mean, you would know better than me, being a hospice nurse, there are diseases that can linger and
For
stretch
years.
out. And if you're a retiree and you have people in your life that you want to take care of, it's something you have to consider about as well. As soon as you retire from that position, you're losing that insurance coverage that they provided you.
Well, I mean, a prime example, my mom had cancer. So she worked until she couldn't work anymore. She had 2 jobs, and she had to retire from those jobs. So again, like when you leave your company because you can't do the job anymore if you're sick, like again, you're leaving it all behind. You're leaving your insurance, you're leaving everything.
Yeah, I had a coworker that had actually, had cancer, and they were relatively young. They were in their 40s, and it was a 2-year battle that they were not able to work and ended up losing their healthcare coverage because you're not able to work, and your employer isn't going to keep you on your insurance if you're not actively working for them.
Yeah. So it's really something to be aware of. Even if you're working for a company, you should have additional life insurance. This is something that we've had for many, many years, and we had no intention at the time of working for ourselves. We just knew that, I was actually after my mom passed away, we realized that, like, oh crap, when we leave our company, our life insurance is gone, and now we don't have the peace of mind that if something happened to one of us, that the other person would be okay.
Right. Plus our children as well.
Right. So we did buy additional, we bought additional life insurance.
Right. It's the supplemental term policy. And so we can talk about that because we're talking about life insurance. So we have a policy. We have an insurance agent that we work with. This is something this is all they do is just life insurance.
Right.
And there's different policies out there. So I'm not an insurance agent, and I'm not trying to sell you insurance. So you need to educate yourself, talk to different people, find out what the reality of your policy is. There's whole life policies, there's term life policies, there's different types of annuities out there. So figure out what works for you. We have a term life policy that we've had for some time. We are a couple in our 40s, and we have $500,000 coverage on each of us. Our cost on that is more than our health insurance. It's $200 a month.
I thought it was $125.
It's $200 a month.
Okay.
So, but again, it's $500,000. So we do have some coverage. If something happens to me, you're going to have, whatever cash savings we have and different retirement plans, but you'll also have an additional $500,000 if I die before, I'm an old age. So next thing, disability. We're talking about long-term and short-term coverage. Again, these are optional typically at most employers. We can buy them ourselves.
I'm looking at our budget app. And so our health insurance is $107 a month. Our life insurance is $184. Our auto insurance is $193, and our dental insurance is $72. So that's our monthly bills.
The real numbers
on those insurances.
Okay. Disability, long-term, short-term. You can buy this, talk to the same agent that has your life insurance policy and let them know, hey, I'm interested. Just give me a quote on the rates, right? What's long-term, and so what we're talking about is like an AFLAC type policy. Okay?
Right. So if you get injured or if you have cancer, some of them are cancer policies, things like that. It's in addition. So these are additional policies that are going to help you with like life costs while you're, but again, these are things that if that's something that you're interested in, have the conversation.
Right. So I was working, again, I worked 20 years in retail, and the employer had coverage provided for all employees for a long-term disability, but they did not offer a short-term policy. It was optional. So it was like $10 a check. And a lot of people opted out of it. They didn't want to pay the extra $10 for something that they didn't think that they would need.
Yeah. We opted in, though.
We did opt in, and I had to have my gallbladder removed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was out of work for that.
And when you
I was in a rollover car accident
mm-hmm.
and had multiple broken ribs, and I wasn't able to work for 3 weeks, and I was able to collect some short-term disability off from that. But
when
I want to talk
William
about
was born, the paternal paternity leave, short-term disability for that as well.
Yeah. What I want to talk about is one of my coworkers, though, and he had a heart attack on the job. He literally collapsed while he was working, and he was out of work for 6 weeks. And he did not have short-term disability, and long-term doesn't kick in until after the period that he returned. So he was out of work for 6 weeks. You know, his wife was retired. He's, basically the sole breadwinner in the house.
And now you've got all these extra medical bills.
And he has no income. So it is definitely something to consider. I'm not saying you have to have it.
Right. But be aware.
Think about it. So next, retirement and savings. A lot of employers have switched from pension plans to 401ks.
Mm-hmm.
If you have retired, or if you are, going to quit that job, you are going to lose access to these programs. Your pension will still be there, but
mm-hmm.
you're no longer working. You're no longer contributing to that, to the growth of your investment there. And then your 401k, you still own whatever your vested balance is.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been there for just a very short period of time, you're not going to be fully vested, and you're going to lose those employer contributions. A lot of employers are leaning into that. They're stretching out those
they're
vesting periods, and they're reducing their amount of contributions.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, we'll employer match up to $500 a year. And then it's a 7-year vesting schedule.
Right. And then the freaking fees that they add into their policies.
Right.
I mean, it's absurd. We just took all of our policies recently from my previous positions, my 401ks, and moved them into one company instead of lots of different companies. And one of them only had a 2% growth because the fees were so high.
Right.
That of the money that we put into it. It's
one of the problems with 401ks, and there's a lot of information out there. So definitely educate yourself. Even if you're staying at that job and you want to keep that 401k, you need to look and see because the employers are providing the options.
Whatever's best for them.
They have chosen what your investment opportunities are, and they've worked with whatever brokerage company to get those. So it may be a Vanguard policy or account. Some of them have really high fees. When you are self-employed, you can take those funds out. You're no longer working for that business, and you can put them where you want them.
Mm-hmm.
You can move it to either a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. There is a tax benefit to the Roth, but there is also a penalty when you fund it, because it's going to be funded with after-tax dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But you get that tax benefit on the back end, and that you don't have to pay taxes when you take the money out of the Roth. So
again, these are things that you're going to want to have a conversation.
We're going to Google, our, the brokerage account, whoever you want to go with. Like I said, there's Vanguard, there's other
Charles Schwab, T. Rowe Price, there's a bunch of them. Whatever is near you, basically, that you can sit down. I personally am an advocate for sitting down with a person so that I can explain, because I don't know all this stuff. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
So make a list of questions that you have. Take your account numbers in if you've got 401ks that you want to transfer, and they'll help you get those transferred and set up your accounts.
They want it in their company.
Right. So, that's going to take care of your retirement savings.
Mm-hmm.
You can open up those IRA accounts, and you can fund them out of your own cash, and you don't need that employer contribution. Yes, if you're working for an employer and they're going to offer you this great benefit package, that's
utilize
amazing.
it.
But, if you are working part-time work, you might not have access to these accounts. You're still planning on retiring, I hope.
Right. That's the thing. You really do have to plan for your future. And when we both started working full time for the business for Curious Collection, we did back off on our retirement contributions, but now we're kind of like working on the budget a little more closely, and now we're able to put even just $100 a month aside for our retirement because like time passes regardless. So you really do have to put some money aside for your future self.
Right. So again, another benefit that you might have access to is a company stock purchase program. So what are we going to do? We're not working for that company anymore. We don't get those that perk of that employee stock purchase program. We're gonna go in and we're gonna open up a brokerage account, like you had mentioned. There's T. Rowe Price, there's Schwab, there's a variety of other companies that will give you access to start a brokerage account. You can now
even your banks do it. Didn't our bank try to like sell us into some brokerage company?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. They
Don't
sell
listen to me.
insurances and stuff, weird things over there. Don't buy stuff from the bank. But you can start your own brokerage account and you can buy those mutual funds yourself. You can buy the different stocks if you want to be the person that's cherry picking out all of the different stocks that you think are winners, like a horse race. You can do that too. So all we're going to do is we're just going to set up that brokerage account. $500, $1,000 usually get you started. And it's amazing because you can literally have a direct deposit set up on those. You can set up the direct deposit on your retirement savings account where it'll just draft right out of your checking. And the same thing with your brokerage account. You can have it set up to just draft right out of your checking. It's funding. You don't even have to think about it.
Right.
So the next thing is that we want to talk about
other employer benefits. PTO, unemployment, and workers' comp. And if you're self-employed, you don't get any of these. There's no paid leave. That means we need to be smart about what we're doing with our lives, and either we're going to take our computer with us and work on vacation, which is what I've suggested we've done in the past. And that's what we're going to do next month. We're going to go on vacation next month. And, so we have already decided, like, we're going to take the computer with us. We'll extend out the shipping policy that we have. And then during that time off, when we get a sale, then we're going to communicate with the buyer and be like, we're going to, just so that you're aware, our shipping is, everything's going to be going out on Tuesday. And so, with the date and so that they're aware that, it's just a little bit longer of a shipping.
I had alluded to this yesterday, unemployment and workers' comp. As a business owner, you do not qualify for these programs. It also means that you're not paying into these programs, assuming you don't have employees. So if you're a sole proprietor or an LLC and you're the only person working for your business, you don't have to pay into these in most states. So you're not covered with unemployment. You don't have workers' comp in case you get hurt. That's why you have that insurance policy with the short-term or long-term disability. The unemployment, we're going to save money. We talked about that as part of our preparation for starting a business is we need to put aside, 3 to 6 months of pay.
For an emergency fund.
I lean in heavier on the 6 months because we work in an industry that's very unpredictable. So, sock away that money. And don't touch it. That's not boat money. That's if my business goes sideways, if I can't work, if I can't make my bills, if the economy tanks, there's a lot of different things there that having that emergency fund will protect you in that case. So that covers my list of benefits that I'm aware of that employers offer.
So if there are other benefits that your employer offers, like put those down in the comments, or if there's other benefits that you find being, self-employed that you're like, oh, my employer, whenever I worked for a company, couldn't touch these benefits. Like, this is an amazing, I'm sorry, but there has never been a more flexible schedule than what we have right now.
Right. And the reality is that, our experience with our healthcare plan is better than what we had through the hospital services. So you've worked at multiple hospitals and they had worse benefit on healthcare than what we currently have. For more.
And you know what? I'm sorry, but that PTO is just, it's all right. I get in trouble for saying monkey balls the other day. So anyway, it's not great because you get so much guilt on trying to like take a day off. I have never had an employer where I could be like, oh, I need this day off, and they didn't give me crap about it. Like
it's never happened.
Right. They always, oh, well, there's not enough coverage, you know, so no, they guilt trip you. Oh, well, everybody else is going to be short staffed because you need to take some time off. Like, I swear, it is the worst trying to get a day off, and like I've always hated. And then there's this big rigmarole. Oh, well, you have to put the request into the computer system, and then your manager has to approve it, and then their manager has to approve it. And you know, if somebody else put in a request already, when you were working in retail, we had to put all his entire year's worth of requests in January so that we could get those days off.
And there was inevitably somebody who would beat me to it, and they'd be like, oh, they've requested off 12 weekends already.
Right.
So you can't have 12 weekends off because they took 12 weekends off.
Yeah. So that whole like employer PTO thing has always been a crock in my opinion.
Yeah. Hard to say. So just let us know, what are your thoughts on you know, buying your own benefits? It can be scary once you sit down and talk to an agent and get these things set up and really understand where your costs are and what those cost comparisons are. I think you're going to be really surprised that they're really not as expensive as what you've been led to believe.
And it's not as hard to do. Our benefits are better now than they were when I was working healthcare.
Right.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys so very much for joining us today. And hopefully this gives you some relief so that you can recognize that, like, you really can do this. It really is doable, and it's not so hard.
Protect yourself, protect your family, like and subscribe. You guys have a great day.
Thanks so much. Good luck to you out there.